So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the fifth day of our college fair. We have here Professor Jonathan Woodward and Ms. Sanae Suzuki, as well as some of the Peak undergraduate admissions team, uh, who will be representing the University of Tokyo for tonight. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box and we will get into it later. Professor, uh, yep, you can take it away. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, everyone from Tokyo here. So it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to you all and to see so many people. Well, to see so many names at least on the screen in front of me. So I think I'm going to give you a presentation for probably 20-25 minutes or so. Before I do so, let me me and my colleagues introduce ourselves. So first of all, my name is Johnny Woodward. I'm a professor, a chemistry professor in the College and Graduate School of Arts and Sciences at the University of Tokyo. And I've been at the university now for 10 years. And I teach on the programs in English at Komaba program, which I'm going to be telling you about. I teach chemistry courses and sort of science philosophy courses to Peak students. And I also run a research group where one of the scientific problems we try to address is how animals can use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate. So surprisingly, that's a question that you try to answer using quantum physics and chemistry. So that's what we do in my research group. So I'm joined by, first of all, my colleague, Professor Suzuki. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanae Suzuki, the associate professor of this program in the University of Tokyo. Actually, I joined this program 2020, so I'm rather really new staff here. But I'm really happy to join here today to exchange ideas, thought with you. And then my major is international relations, and especially focusing on Southeast Asia, international relations in Southeast Asia. So it's a great honor to be here, as a researchers of doing research in Southeast Asia. I have been to Manila for couple of times for research when I was PhD students. So I think it's really nice opportunity for me to see all the students from Philippines. And then I offer the courses in introduction to international relations, and then global governance, regionalism as well, and then also international relations in East Asia and Southeast Asia. So I'm happy to hear your thought and your questions, if you like. So thank you very much.
Thanks. And we also have two of my colleagues from the Peak Undergraduate Admissions Office. So I will let them introduce themselves now.
Hey, hello, I'm Yuki from the Peak Admissions Office. I used to be a student from this Peak program long time ago, so you might be answering some questions as the student point of view as well. And
hi, my name is Asami Sato. I'm also from admissions office. Nice to meet you.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to start my presentation now. So the title of my presentation is an introduction to the University of Tokyo and Peak. And during the course of the presentation, I'm going to try and answer some basic questions. And the first one I'd like to answer is, why might you want to study at the University of Tokyo? So I should say I don't have any slides talking about studying in Japan in general. But we'll be very happy to answer questions at the end. If you want to know more about living in Japan or studying in Japan and what it's like, then feel free to ask us questions about that as well. So I'm going to start with a focus on the university itself. So why might you be interested in studying at our particular university? So the University of Tokyo is a very traditional institution. It's actually one of Japan's national universities, and it's actually the oldest national university. It was founded in 1877, originally as Tokyo Imperial University, and it became its name changed to the University of Tokyo as we know it today in 1947. We're quite large. We have at any given time around 30,000 students. That's undergraduate and graduate students, and about a third of that number of academic and administrative staff. The thing that I'd like to point out first of all is that the University of Tokyo is quite a prestigious university. So if we look first of all at the world university rankings, this is the QS World University Rankings for this year, you'll see that Tokyo is placed 24th in the world in this list. And actually, the university was previously ranked higher, and one of the reasons it's not ranked as highly in recent years is that we're not international enough. We really want to have more international students at our university. So that's been difficult in the past, because to study at the university, you really needed to know Japanese. But that, as I'm going to show you, that's no longer the case. So we really would like to appeal to you to think about our university as somewhere that you might want to be able to come and study in English. Another very key point is that if you look at these kind of top universities in the world, you'll find that actually many of them have extremely high fees for studying. And one of the great advantages of the University of Tokyo is because it's a national university, Japanese national university, it has the same fees for all students, regardless of whether they're local students or international students or graduate students or undergraduate students, it's the same. And so you can see that if you look at the world rankings in their tuition fee adjusted list, the university is rated as the third in the world, behind Peking University and the ETH in Zurich in Switzerland. So these are some of the original strong points. The other thing is that the university has long been established as one of the world's leading research universities. Okay, so at the university we have 10 former Nobel Prize winners, which you can see listed here. And most of so one of the most important groups of journals where scientists and other researchers publish their work are known as the Nature journals. And if we look at the Nature Index rankings across all academic institutions across the world for all research journals published last year, you'll see that the University of Tokyo is actually rated, ranked 4th in the world, even above universities of Oxford and Cambridge. So we're a highly academic institution, and we have very, very high academic standards. What I want to do next is to say a little bit about what PEAK is and why you might be interested in that. So PEAK stands for Programs in English at Komaba. So I think the programs in English part should be fairly self-explanatory, but what this means is PEAK is an opportunity for you to study at the University of Tokyo and take all your courses in English. The second part of the title is Komaba, and Komaba is the name of the campus where PEAK is. Okay, so the university has a number of campuses. It has 2 main campuses located in central Tokyo. One of them is called Hongo campus, which is where the headquarters of the university is and where many of the graduate schools are. And the other one is Komaba campus, which is where all students who study for their undergraduate degree at the university begin their studies and spend at least the first 2 years of their studies. So you can see in some of the pictures here, some campus shots on the left, you know, in winter, there with some kind of cultural sharing events happening. And in the top right, what you can see is a group of PEAK and other local Japanese students having what's called their global interaction lunch, sitting out on the grass in front of the library. And this is something that this group of students do once a week to share friendship and get to know each other and their own unique experiences. Down in the bottom right here, you can see that this is known as the Scramble Square in Shibuya, very famous landmark in Shibuya, the sort of busiest road crossing in the world. And Shibuya is one of the very vibrant, exciting downtown busy parts of Tokyo. And what's very nice is that Komaba campus is located just about 15 minutes walk or about 4 minutes on the train from Shibuya. So you have this opportunity to explore Tokyo at its and Tokyo life right on the doorstep. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about Peak. So Peak, as I mentioned, offers students from all over the world the opportunity to come to the University of Tokyo to study in English for 4 years, obtain their bachelor's degree from our university. Okay, and the kind of highlight features are that we offer 2 different programs of study which you can choose from. Okay, so Peak was launched in 2012. And we have 2 undergraduate courses. One of them is known as the International Program on Environmental Sciences. And as I mentioned, I'm actually one of the professors who teaches on this course. And the International Program on Japan and East Asia, and Professor Suzuki is here to represent the Japan and East Asia program. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what those programs are about in a moment. And the nice thing is that to study on Peak, you need no Japanese experience whatsoever. You can come with 0 knowledge of the Japanese language, but during your studies, you will be required to take Japanese language courses and learn how to speak and read and write and listen to Japanese during your studies on the program. So for many, this is a really nice opportunity. If you've ever wanted to learn Japanese and experience living in Japan, but you don't see that as being the subject that you want to study, here you can come and study for your major and learn Japanese all at the same time. So let me say a little bit about how the Peak program is structured. And this structure is based on the same structure that all undergraduate students at the University of Tokyo take. And that is that the degree program of 4 years is divided into 2 parts. The first 2 years are referred to as the junior division. And during those 2 years, you will study a liberal arts curriculum. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. And you will take required Japanese language courses during those 2 years. After you complete the first 2 years, you move into what's known as the senior division. And at this point, you'll be particularly distinguished by the particular major that you've chosen to study. So either environmental sciences or Japan and East Asia. And so you choose, when you apply to Peak, you choose which of these programs you want to apply to. So I'll give you some more detail in a minute, but you can see from this slide that both of these programs are very much interdisciplinary programs. All right, what does that mean for you? Well, I come originally from the United Kingdom, and when I studied at university, I took a single subject course. I studied chemistry, and from the moment I started until 4 years later, I studied chemistry, and more chemistry, and nothing else. Things are quite different at the University of Tokyo. Both of these programs allow you to study much broader subjects from a range of different perspectives. So in the environmental sciences, you'll look at the hard science aspects, but you'll also look at the human and social science aspects of the environmental sciences. In Japan and East Asia, it's also interdisciplinary, but with a shift to a crossover between the social sciences and the humanities. Okay, so you can see by the sort of topic areas listed here. So, oh, I've lost my slides. How's that? That's strange. Sorry. Look, okay. If that's my. Oh, okay. So for some reason, why can't I go back? Okay, there we go. I've lost my other slide. So let me say a little bit more about these 2 things while we're on this slide. So the liberal arts curriculum then is based. This is a philosophy of the university in general, and the idea is that to create, thriving citizens and future leaders. we build our education on a very broad base of understanding. So students learn lots of different disciplines. You learn across many, many different topics, from the arts through the humanities, the social sciences, the hard sciences, and mathematics. And depending on which of the majors you take, that will vary which courses you are required to take, but you have the same choices of optional courses as well. So you may be studying environmental sciences, but you really want to take a course in linguistics, for example, you'll have that opportunity. Okay, and then in the senior division, this theme continues. As I indicated, both of these courses are very much interdisciplinary. Environmental sciences is based on Japan's important role in understanding environmental problems early on. It's green and sort of cutting edge technologies that it develops. And the idea behind the ES program is that we want to build tomorrow's leaders who know how to solve environmental problems, from a legal perspective, from a management perspective, from an economic perspective, but also from a scientific perspective in terms of developing the new technologies that will help us solve tomorrow's environmental problems as soon as possible. In the Japan and East Asia program, and I'm sure you can ask Professor Suzuki more about this later if you want, the idea again is that you look at the role of Japan within East Asia and in the wider world from various perspectives. So that can be from a philosophical perspective, from a historical perspective, from a cultural perspective, and that leads you into all these areas that you see here, like area studies, economics and politics, and particularly international relations. So the idea of the Japan and East Asia program is to grow the next generation of leaders for the international stage who have multicultural and multilingual backgrounds, can empathize with people from all over the world and understand the relationships between different countries and forge the next generation of leaders. Okay, so let me say a little bit about studying at the university and on PEAK. So I've listed here all the costs of being a PEAK student. So as I indicated before, the tuition fees are compared with competitor universities extremely reasonable. The cost is about $4,800 US per year, with a one-time admission fee of about half that. Since this year, we have a brand new Meiji-Rodai International Village, where all our PEAK students are offered housing during their first years, and the bills and the cost for living here for everything, including internet and all the bills, is about $750 US a month. And typical living expenses, we surveyed our students and found that living in Tokyo, they live off a similar amount every month. So this is what you can expect to need to live on the program. However, the one thing that I really want to show you is that we have a very, very generous range of scholarships available. So basically, we offer two main kinds of full scholarship. The first comes from the Japanese government, from the Monro Kagacho, or MEXT scholarship as it's known. And this covers everything. It covers your admission fee, your tuition fees, 120, about $1,100 US a month of living expenses, which covers your accommodation and living costs, and even includes a round ticket to Tokyo. And we have 5 of these available every year. And the University of Tokyo scholarship is pretty much, this comes from the university itself. This offers the same benefits but just doesn't offer the airline ticket. These are not relevant necessarily to today's audience, but we also have some travel grant scholarships for example, students from Singapore and Malaysia. The point I really want to emphasize is that PEAK is a pretty small program. We typically aim to take around 30 students a year, 15 onto each program. And given that we have 15 full scholarships, that pretty much means that half of the students who are accepted onto the program will get complete scholarships. And when you apply to the PEAK program, if you want to try and enter PEAK, there's no separate application. You'll automatically be considered for these scholarships, so you don't have to do a separate application. Okay, so with that, let me say a little bit about how you might apply to PEAK. So the process is quite straightforward. It basically takes place in 2 stages. The first one is known as document screening, where you send a series of documents that we request to us, and we review the documents of all the applicants to PEAK at the end of the year. So you apply during November to December, and then in January we review those documents and we shortlist the successful candidates. Then the successful candidates will be offered the chance to move to the second stage, which is a personal interview conducted online, and for ES applicants, an additional online mathematics test as well. That takes place during February and March, and then at the beginning of, during March, we make the decisions of the successful applicants and offer them places based on these 2 stages of screening. So for the current year, if you want to join in September of next year, you will apply this year between November and December on the dates here. What do you need to do to apply? Well, first of all, you need to be eligible, which means you need to have completed 12 years of school education. And this should not be a problem for all of you here today. The first 6 years of your school must have been studied, you must have studied in a language other than Japanese. And for the second 6 years of school, at least 5 of those years must have been in a language other than Japanese. Assuming you meet this eligibility criterion, then, oh, here we are. There's my missing slides from before. They're in the wrong place. So if you meet these, then you can make the application, and the application takes place entirely online. So I'll guide you through that process now. So what you need also to apply is you have to submit standardized or national test scores. All right, so depending on the system that you studied, we accept a wide range of standardized tests, things like International Baccalaureate, A-levels, SATs, ACT, but we also accept national tests from a wide range of countries. So in order to check that you're eligible to apply, you download our application guidelines and then check for the exam systems that you're taking, and make sure that you meet our minimum requirements. So for all systems, we have a minimum cutoff over which you must be in order to apply. Then, if you want to apply, as I said, the process is completely conducted online. We have you're given access to an online system, and you complete an application form with all your personal details, your school history, etc. You write an essay for us. The essay changes each year, and you can download you can download the application guidelines and see what this year's essay is. We need your official school transcripts, a certificate saying that you're going to graduate, and then, as I indicated a moment ago, we need standardized or national examination results. If your schooling has been not in English, but in another language, so if most of your teaching is not in English, then you'll also need to take, for example, the TOEFL or IELTS or Cambridge International English examinations to demonstrate your English language ability. And finally, you'll need 2 evaluations recommendation letters from teachers at your school. So this is how the process is done. Okay, we're getting to the end now. I just want to say another couple of minutes telling you about what might happen if you join this program in your future, and then we'll get to having the Q&A. Okay, so as I indicated, PEAK first launched in 2012, which means that we had our first students graduating 4 years later in 2016. So we've compiled some data by surveying our graduating students about what they do when they finish their degree. So this is a sample of 104 students that completed this survey, and you can see that basically half of our students go on to further studies at graduate school, either for master's courses or PhD courses, and maybe about half of them go into the workplace and get employment. We have a few students who delay for a year. We have students, who want to spend some time traveling. We have students who do other things in there, but the majority of students go straight into further study or employment when they graduate. You'll see that for those who go on to further study, a lot of them stay in Japan. Quite a lot of them stay at the University of Tokyo for graduate school. We have quite a large number go to grad schools in the US and the UK, and also other prestigious universities around the world. In terms of employment, actually many of our graduate students, 84% of them, actually stay on and work in Japan. Some students go back to their original countries or to other countries for work, but a large number actually start their careers off in Japan. So just to give you an idea, and I want to emphasize here, the idea of studying on PEAK means that you don't need to know yet in your life what it is that you want to do. The liberal arts program and the interdisciplinary nature of the degree courses means you can be flexible. Many of our students, when they join us, they don't know quite what it is that they want to do yet. And they take many different courses and find something that really attracts them during their studies. So as you can see from these lists, our students have gone to work, gone on to further studies, masters and PhDs in a huge range of different areas. Okay, so if you're the kind of student who knows right now that you want to be a mathematician, then probably PEAK is not for you. But if you're interested, if you don't know what it is that you really want to do yet in your life, and you're interested in learning about lots of different things, then PEAK might be a very good option for you. Finally, you can see here some of the many different kind of careers that PEAK students go into when they graduate. So you'll see there's a huge different range of employment sectors. A large number go into business, consulting and management, and also banking and finance and accountancy. But even outside of that, there's a huge range of different careers that our students take. So I hope you will sort of have the idea that PEAK is a real doorway to exploring yourself, exploring what you want to do, learning about the many, many different possibilities in the world, opening doors and finding your way into a future that maybe you don't even expect yet. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop presenting now, and we'll have the time for questions. So I think the easiest thing is for now if I stop my share and make sure you post your questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. In some cases, if you're asking really specific questions that apply maybe to you about your personal situation, then you can address those directly to the PEAK undergraduate admissions office if you like, and we will try to answer you directly rather than answering everybody. But I'll try and answer the main questions. Between us, the four of us will try and answer your questions live. So please go ahead and post any questions you have now in the chat room. Okay, so okay, two questions. I think this will happen quickly. Let me do these as well as I can. So how do you weigh extracurriculars and academics in admissions and in scholarships? Okay, so in our admissions process, as I said, we ask for lots of information from you, and there's your performance in tests are a cutoff line before you can even apply. After you've applied, we look at lots of different aspects. So we look at extracurricular things, we look at things like voluntary work, we look at all aspects of your academic history, and also what you've spent your extracurricular time doing. And then we think about all these things together, and actually we're very careful in trying to choose students who will thrive at PEAK and benefit from being at PEAK. So we try to match ourselves as well with the students, and we tend not to interview students if we don't think that PEAK is a good choice for them. Okay, just on these technical things, is there a minimum IB grade for admission? Yes, there is. There's a minimum grade for all of our standardized tests and for all of our national tests. So you need, for each case, you need to look at the admissions guidelines. For IB, you need at least 38 out of 42 in your subjects. You need some particular subject combinations, particularly for ES, and you need at least 2 in your top EE. Okay, these are flying past quickly. So let's see. Does the Japanese government scholarship also apply to courses outside of PEAK, or is it restricted? Okay, so the scholarships I referred to are special MEC scholarships assigned only to PEAK. So we choose who receive those scholarships. You can apply to MECs through, for example, the embassy, through a different route. So that's a different option. But these are only for PEAK students. So all of those will be assigned to PEAK.
Sorry to disrupt you.
Yeah.
Everyone who's sending questions in the chat, please, we will appreciate it if you can send it to everyone instead of just Professor Woodward. So we can see the
please
questions
do
as
that.
well.
I hadn't noticed, but they're all coming to me. So please share the questions to everyone if possible. If you have a specific question that you don't want to share in the chat that's addressed to, for example, myself or for Professor Suzuki or Professor or for the undergraduate office members, you can direct message those particular people. But for general questions like this, it would be great if you could post them in the general one. Okay.
Oh, really? There's no option to share to everyone.
Okay.
The very oh, okay.
Oh.
At the top of the chat, I think there's an everyone button.
Yeah, you should be
So
able
you have
to
to
find
scroll
it.
up.
You have to scroll up, I guess. Okay, let me keep answering while we're working that out. So let me get back. Would you recommend PEAK for a student who wants to go into medicine? If you're absolutely certain that you want to go into medicine, no, I don't think so. It's not the right choice. You'd be much better to go and study medicine immediately. If you're interested in medicine, related biosciences, medical health and medical technology, you're not sure what you want to do and you're interested in learning more broadly, then yes, PEAK might be a good choice. But if you're absolutely set on being a doctor, for example, I think that's not the best choice. And if you were interested in studying on PEAK before going into medicine later, you'd need to take the environmental sciences program due to its strong core science elements. So that would be recommended for the two. What is a common mistake that students make when applying? A question I've never been asked before. I'll ask my colleagues as well if they have any thoughts on this after, but I think that the main thing is to understand that in general in Japan, applications and forms and all documents are done very strictly. So if your application is missing anything, then there's going to be no option. If you reach the deadline of application and you haven't got all the documents submitted on time and everything done correctly, then that's usually a no-no. So the common mistake students make in applying is not being careful enough. In terms of what they do in their applications, I think most students don't make any serious mistakes. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything. Okay. Are there only two programs that are taught fully in English, or are there other programs? For undergraduate programs, the only options are these two, the International Program on Japan and East Asia and the International Program on Environmental Sciences. I should point out that, as I said, you can take a wide range of different courses. If you do happen to speak Japanese or your Japanese gets to a high enough level, you can take any other courses from that the university offers in Japanese or in English. And you can also, during your senior division, take sub-majors or sub-programs in other areas like informatics, linguistics, things like that. So there are options if you get interested in other areas. Around how many apply to PEAK per year? I think I don't think I'm actually allowed to disclose this number officially. But let's say it's hundreds and hundreds of students each year, a number of hundreds of students each year. Hi, are students allowed to work part-time? Yeah, absolutely. Based on so there are two things to think about here. One is how busy students are, and PEAK students are pretty busy. You take a lot of courses. You're in charge of your own timetable largely, but lots of PEAK students take a lot of courses in the first year and then maybe do more part-time work and other extracurricular activities in the second year. but basically, I think from a visa perspective, you're allowed to work about 20 hours a week. Is that correct? Can anyone correct me? Is it 20 or 28? I think it's 20 hours a week. But I think 20 hours a week would be difficult for PEAK students given that they're teaching. But many PEAK students do work part-time, and also there are great opportunities for teaching. For example, teaching English classes to like school students and that in Japan. So that you can make quite good money through teaching English, for example, as one of the options that many PEAK students do. So there's a question: is a certificate stating English is a medium of instruction enough to waive the English proficiency requirement? Yes, when you give us information about your schools, you have to clearly indicate which language you studied in throughout your school career. And the numbers that I gave you, so the 4, you basically need 9 years of your 12 years to have been in English to waive the English test requirements. Is there an application fee? Yep, as I indicated, it's 282,000. Oh, an application fee. Sorry, I'm getting confused. There's the entrance fee. Yeah, can I ask the undergraduate admission office what the current application fee is?
It's
The
5,000
application.
yen.
Oh, sorry.
5,000 yen.
Yeah, it's okay. Good. It hasn't changed. It's 5,000 yen. So about $40 US or so, I guess. So we have. Sorry.
Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Can I answer that? Can I answer all the question regarding the Japanese?
Yeah,
the separate question coming up regarding the Japanese. Whether you have to take the Japanese languages as a mandatory. Yes, we require you after you enter the program. We require all students to take the Japanese courses as mandatory, like the compulsory as a compulsory courses. But we do not really require you to learn Japanese before entering the program. So it's really like, after, it's really happened after you enter the program. And then also yes. So then, but this is like kind of one of the specific, advantage for the PEAK programs. You don't have to have a Japanese knowledge, before you entering the course. But if you look at other faculties, other departments in the University of Tokyo, all courses are taught in Japanese. So you definitely required, to require Japanese skills before entering the faculties, the department in University of Tokyo. But our program is doesn't require you to learn Japanese before entering one. But after after entering the program, we encourage you to learn Japanese. Take advantage of the studying in Japan, and then to learn Japanese to apply and to improve your Japanese skills after you enter the program.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
There's just one left I'm just clearing out the questions that were originally sent directly to me, and there's one left now, and that is, if our SAT results arrive after the application period, can we send it in at a later date? The basic answer to that is no. We have very clear guidelines about when your SAT results must be submitted. So please check exactly it changes obviously the date each year, but please carefully check the application guidelines for that. Okay, so I guess we're almost, and the other one which came to me was, is it 30 students for both courses or 30 students collectively? It's 30 students collectively. I mean, we may take slightly more. I think last year we took about 37 students or so. And it's split between the two. So it's roughly 15 ES and 15 Japan and East Asia. And the last one, would you recommend, before we get onto all the general ones, all the ones that are shared with everyone, would you recommend PEAK to somebody interested in entering the IT industry? It's certainly a possibility. We have lots of our students who are interested in information technology. We've had students go on to study computer science master's programs in the United States after. We have one thing I didn't mention is that during your senior division in the 4th year, you do a 1-year research project. So you will join the group of one professor of your choice and work on research in that area for a year. And so if you chose a professor who works in the area of programming or computer science, you could do a whole graduation thesis on that. And there's also the opportunity to do a sub-program in informatics. So not a bad choice. I mean, if you're absolutely set on, learning more IT skills right from the start, again, maybe a direct computer science program might be better. But if you've got a slightly broader interest, then PEAK might be useful. Okay, so
yeah, sorry, speaking for the Japanese course again, there's several questions coming up, several new questions coming up. First of all, I think that you have to take the Japanese course, Japanese languages course at the same time, seamlessly with other courses. So we don't really have a extra 1 year or something especially for devoting to Japanese, to learning Japanese. So you have to take the courses in the several disciplines, and at the same time you have to take the Japanese language courses. So it's obviously it must be very hard for you to learn Japanese as at the same time you learn several disciplines, several the topics, several courses, but you definitely it gives you a great advantage after you graduate, because Professor Woodward said, many students got a job in Japan after graduations. It means they are capable of speaking Japanese, writing Japanese, good enough to work in Japanese companies or foreign companies based in Japan. So I think the learning Japanese is, it's one of the it will be the great advantage for you after graduations. And then of course, learning Japanese, is quite hard, for you actually, if you don't have any knowledge about Japanese skill. But we offer wide range of several levels several courses with the different levels of the Japanese level of the Japanese. So you can take the primary the first beginner course at that as a first year, and then move on to the second and third level and fourth level. So I think there are several Japanese the language teachers can offer you to enable you to learn Japanese very smoothly, the very efficient way, which is much greater than you studied outside the campus. There are tons of opportunity for private private companies offering you the Japanese courses. But I noticed that our teaching our Japanese teachings in this program is high standards, I guess. So you can take advantage of it. Thank you.
So okay, I think that's the last of the questions that we can answer. Unfortunately, we have very limited time, and thank you so much for joining the University of Tokyo PEAK program talk. And Professor,
Can I make one comment just before we finish? So if we didn't have a chance to answer your question and you want to come and talk to us again, we'll advertise it later, but we'll be holding information sessions next month. And you're very welcome to come and join again. We'll have a little bit more time for questions, and you can come and ask us any questions then. So just to let you know that there are other opportunities.
Yep. So so for the admissions team, do you have anything you want to plug, or where they can reach you for further questions?
Okay, I'll be sending a contact page right now, and please look at the Camp Philippines SNS post, and we're going to be giving some websites and links that you can refer to later there as well.
Yep. So again, everyone, thank you, and you can now go back to the main session. Again, if you have to be reassigned for your breakout rooms, and our college fair manager Mickey will be there to assist you. So thank you so much. Also, thank you